I nearly lost 1 million. I was buying this when we were fitting in the restaurant in terms of it was a franchise, so 1 million was part of the payment. It was a lot more than that, but at that point I had to pay 1 million.
Yes.
So what we used to do then is write a letter to the bank to verify the payment, and then we would also have a invoice from the person we are paying that side. That invoice would be on a letterhead with the details.
Yes.
So this one time I get the same invoice, but it's asking me, it's saying to me that we have a problem with this account, but we want you to temporarily use it. Everything else is authentic.
Yes.
Letterhead is authentic. And it was only when they were now sending short messages to say how far,
Yes.
that I then called the guy, the genuine guy,
yes,
the MD of that company, to say, I'm in the process of paying you. Why you send so many messages?
Yes.
And then he said, wait a minute, I never sent any messages.
Yes.
And then only then did I realize that this was an attempted fraud.
You actually had the right response to that. You'd see your person no onale mathata re ne le 50,000 re ta go thusa ka mathata gago kana no re ne le madi re ta go a okeletsa. Like, if I can't do it for myself, how can I do it for you? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
And tell me, in the recent past, because these things go public, which is the major fraud case that has come out in Botswana?
Well,
this is Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We enthuse, we energize, we inspire, and we empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes in BW and beyond. Dumelang Betsu, Dumelang Botswana, Dumelang Badichaba, everybody out there in cyberspace. Hello and welcome to another episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. Ever excited to welcome you. We're going to deal with the issue of fraud, guys. Fraud. And I brought the foremost expert in the country, someone who's in the cutting edge in terms of being aware of the risks and how to deal with what we call the fraud risk pandemic or the fraud pandemic. I brought in to the studio Kagiso Gofamodimo. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Okay. Before we go deeper, a little bit of housekeeping, guys. I have my book, Nuggets of Grit. Please be sure to reach out to us here at Mogobe Plaza if you want a copy. Alternatively, just dash to Exclusive Books. It only retails for $350. That's all. I open up and share my whole story, and a little help from you would be welcome. But don't forget to strike the subscribe button. We need those subscriptions. Please just down there, subscribe, press that button. That's all I ask. And I found out, much to my dismay, that about 66% of you watch regularly but do not subscribe. And according to the YouTube algorithms and records, that's not good. And that's why we're a bit stagnant. And let me be shameless and just tell you, without your subscription, we're going backwards. So please, I ask you once again, if you subscribe, I'll get the best and the brightest in the country. You can also write me by way of comments and indicate to me the type of people that you want to see on the podcast, and I'll reach out to those people and interview them. Please, let's engage with one another and do subscribe and hit also the notification bell, so every time a podcast comes in, you can be part of what you're doing. Let's start the conversation of Gofamodimo by asking the simple question: what is fraud?
Well, basically, fraud is the unlawful and intentional misrepresentation that may lead to the loss that affects either an individual or a group.
Okay.
So unintentional misrepresentation in terms of fraud, it can be either internal or external. So when I say internal, as you are running a business yourself, there may be individuals within your employ that look to exploit loopholes in your current workings to try and benefit financially from you unlawfully with intention. In terms of externally, that is whereby you see your regular Motswana out there, let's affectiwa these unlawful advances from strangers, where they end up losing money of their own, much of their hard-earned money.
Wow.
Yes.
We're going to unpack that, but I guess someone would first want to know a little bit about your history, your background, educationally, your qualifications, and so on.
Yes. Essentially, Kagiso Gofamodimo is Mr. Gofamodimo from Kanye. From also proudly, my mother's Kalanga from Sibina. Born and raised in Francistown, much affectionately known as Toropo ya Muka. Yes, I've
What
studied.
does Muka mean?
Muka, it means Toropo ya Muka means for the city has woken up.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's an affectionate term that people usually use to describe Francistown. Yes. So in terms of my studies, I've studied an honors degree in accounting and finance at Botswana Accountancy College, where I actually went with some of your usual guests, your Nature Mokotsi, your Tumelo Now, where we used to school together there.
Wow.
Yes. Also, I'm an associate with the Certified Fraud Examiners, or I'm also ACCA part qualified. So yeah, in terms of my studies, that is where my niche is: finance, accounting, and fraud. Yes.
Okay. Why fraud? Why did you focus on fraud? There's so many other things you could have focused on.
That's true, but I grew up with a curious mind. When I was growing up, we used to watch movies a lot. So movies went from your cowboy movies, evolved into your bank robbers, and then it ended up in a very interesting era where it was all about corporate espionage. You'd get to see people talking to these big screens, and then all of a sudden on the news you get to hear a story of somebody embezzling funds that belong to pensioners, and then the person goes scot-free. So it ended up intriguing me in terms of how did that person do that and why are they still out here. So it ended up with me going down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out why and how that can be stopped. That's how I ended up at Fraud Risk.
Wow, that's interesting. How did you professionally empower yourself to become good at this? Did you undergo any training courses and things like that?
Yes, there's a certification specifically for fraud risk experts. It's called Certified Fraud Examiner. What that does, it allows you to then be exposed to the different facets of fraud in financial institutions, your hospitals. It's everywhere. It's not only specific to financial institutions as much as many people may think, but it's everywhere. When I say it's everywhere, even when you can tell your doctor, or no, put this on my medical aid, will say that I did a procedure so that you can claim back some of the funds that you are always paying. That's actually a form of fraud. It's a form of fraud as well.
And how widespread is this in Botswana?
Well, in Botswana, fraud is actually quite concentrated to financial institutions. When I say concentrated to financial institutions, people, when they hear of criminals or crooks, they think of your regular guy who takes your phone and runs away with it. But there's actually sophisticated people who take time to come up with schemes to give you comfort, and in that comfort you end up giving them money. It ends up trying to put it into a term, it's called social engineering. This is, I believe some of you have heard of this, whereby you receive a phone call, someone saying, hi, my name is Kagiso, I'm from Choppies, you just won yourself 5,000 pula. It's January, it's a tough time, you're going through a lot. We'll be like, wow, 5,000 pula. Oh, why? What can I do to get it? Like, okay, no, you can come to our store, but if you want it now, you can do X, Y, and Z, and then we can transfer the funds into your bank account. Unknowingly, within that days of you winning money, you end up divulging personal information that allows those people to gain
Because you've been
access.
blinded by the thought of money.
Yes, you've been blinded by the thought of money. So that is the most prevalent one in Botswana because it's actually evolved across the years. In previous years, when there was Itireletse on BTV, you'd see whereby
Is it still on?
it's still on, but no new episodes, unfortunately. They're still airing the old episodes. You'd see your person no onale mathata re nele 50,000 re ta go thusa ka mathata ga kana no re nele madi re ta go a okeletsa. Like, if I can't do it for myself, how can I do it for you? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
And tell me, in the recent past, because these things go public, which is the major fraud case that has come out in Botswana?
Well, in terms of a major fraud case, it still uses the same modus operandi of people being desperate enough to end up falling into the lie. That would be your ecoplexus. When we dive into ecoplexus as a setup, I put in money and then I press working and then I end up getting money back. How does it make sense that I'm actually making money? And if I bring in more people to come and access the platform, I get more bonus points. I end up with winning more back. Unfortunately, that is what we call the makings of a pyramid scheme. A pyramid scheme, it starts at the bottom. It starts at the top. The person at the top gives it to two more people give it to three more people. As you go down the pyramid, these people end up funding the people about Gogodimo.
Yeah, let's unpick Eco Plus. How much fraud was involved? What are the monies that people lost there?
Unfortunately, it's not public knowledge how much money was lost there. But
we're talking millions or billions?
We're talking millions, in the tens of millions. We're talking in the tens of millions because you'd get your ordinary Motswana. No, Nike we need 10,000 or no, now I'm going to get a loan. It's 100,000. That loan I have to pay back in 6 years. That thing disappears overnight. For the next 6 years, I have 100,000 pula bill or for something that I don't even have. It was quite disheartening.
And the tricky part is that some people did get their money.
Some people did get that money.
How does that work? I don't know.
Well, it's a game of enticing. It's a game of enticing. Like I said, it's a pyramid. I start off, even if I start off by myself, I give two people an opportunity. I repay those people with my personal money. Once I repay those people with my personal money, they go tell three more people each. They're like, no, we invested in this guy. And he gave us money within 2 weeks. It was so easy. Those three guys come in and then they bring me more people. Once the new people fund the payouts for the old people. Once I feel I've had enough money from those people referring other people, I close shop. I take all the money that is in my pocket and I disappear.
So Eco Plus, has it morphed into something new now?
Well, these schemes, they always morph into something new. As soon as you see pay X amount, bring in more people, and then you'll get out X amount. It's the similar modus operandi. And also, in Botswana, there's a regulator called NBFIRA, Non-Banking Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority. What that does is that for these institutions that are legally given the right to run such, competitions, they should be registered under NBFIRA. And Ecoplexus was not registered under NBFIRA.
Line of defense for a potential victim should be, give me your NBFIRA registration.
Yes.
And give me a contact at NBFIRA who I can verify that you have a right to even talk about this thing.
Yes. So essentially,
is that how you should respond when they approach you?
So essentially, your first response as an individual is you have to do your due diligence. Due diligence essentially means that never invest in something you don't understand fully. When we are talking in terms of investing your own money, NBFIRA is a parastatal. They have an open door policy. They have registration. They have a registration. You can contact them through their website, get an email there, and then you can confirm the details of this person you are trying to invest your money with. That will then give you that extra comfort. Okay, this person has been licensed to do this. Then we can have more conversations into how you understand how this is actually making you money. Because I always tell people, never invest in something that you don't fully understand. That is where people take advantage. Someone will say, give me your money, I'll invest on your behalf. I understand better. That person is not given authority by NB to do that. That is why people go to school for years and years to be investment bankers, so that they have the legal right to do that on your behalf using organizations of repute.
Okay. You are from BBS. Can you just tell us your portfolio in terms of what your job description is and so on?
Yes. I'm from BBS Bank as a fraud risk specialist, as aforementioned. So essentially what a fraud risk specialist is, firstly, I need to keep what's in. That means as a customer, you have confidence that you have put your money with BBS Bank and it will stay there. It will not go anywhere. So firstly, I have to make sure that the controls that we have as BBS are strong enough to keep your money from predators that have access to our systems or access to our infrastructure. Secondly, I have to protect you from yourself. When I say protect you from yourself, we live in a technological era. We transact online. We pay for things. We go on holidays. Unfortunately, these things, they expose us so much. I get to then see if something happens in your bank account that is out of the ordinary. I get to see, okay, this is out of the pattern. Mr. Mogobe has been transacting in Botswana for the last 2 hours. Why is he now making a transaction in Zambia? I give you a call, and then I get to see that is not actually you. And then we
You have a whole team.
Yes.
That you work with.
Yes. We have a team. We have a team that focuses on card transactions. We try to look at also your account activity if it's not related to your card. Some of these things, it doesn't really need a team. It's just systems that with the advanced knowledge of AI, we've seen what it's capable of. Yes.
Have you managed to catch any significant thugs, thieves, fraudsters?
Yes, we have seen, managed to identify. Unfortunately for me, as an employee of a bank, I do not have handcuffs. But through collaborations with the Serious Crime Office, Botswana Police, I commend them actually.
Without mentioning names necessarily, tell us who you caught and what had they done.
Well, essentially, it's a thing of identity theft when someone comes and impersonates another person to get a facility or to open an account that will then function for unlawful things. You then get to identify this person is not representing themselves in a lawful manner. You refer the issue to the police, and then the police take the suspect and go on, so on and so forth, to proceed with the way the law works. Yes.
How does it work, this identity theft?
Well, identity theft, I think the best way I can put it is to make it a scenario. So, Botswana, we are very trusting people. We are very trusting people. We take our omangs, the kopita thing. We put them all about. We don't really pay mind to how we secure them. We have people who actually so they go alter it. Next thing you know, I'm calling you, Mr. Mogobe, on installment this month, so it's loan X amount, and you'll be in shock. Can't this person when I loan so and then that person doctored everything else, because like I said,
they go to the extent of getting loans.
Yes, they go to the extent of getting loans, opening accounts to move funds around. It's quite an evolved criminal enterprise. Like I said before, it's not your regular thug, your nangago pamulela spache. These people sit down to strategize, or okay, kaha ba tibile re ka go exploit that guy go Botswana ba isimba le mo geteng gore re ka ba tseela madi ka teng. So they use sophisticated methods, they forger, they doctor, they impersonate, the so on and so forth.
Let me give you a scenario and invite you to comment on it. I mean, someone came to my office and said they are micro lenders.
Yes.
And they said that they were defrauded by a very high level individual who worked in a very senior office, by him apparently setting up a syndicate. And in terms of what had happened is that a series of people would come to that micro lender to borrow money, and those people would normally give their what they call KYC documents, letter of employment, umang, backup, references, and then they would have, the syndicate would be so big that they would have a series of employers, fictitious employers. When you call those places, they verify that this person has been with us for so long. The two of the micro lenders were hammered so hard that they had to close down completely. It turned out that it was just that money is gone. No one works for that. Those organizations were fictitious. What would be your advice to guard against this situation, and how familiar are you with these sort of schemes?
Well, it's schemes that I'm aware of. It goes to speak to the level of sophistication that I mentioned that these guys have. They'll have a whole entire team. Most of those documents they submitted, they probably doctored, they altered. They'd keep certain elements that are truthful, but for the majority of it would be doctored. So unfortunately, in terms of a public space like this speaks to what we call internal controls. Internal controls, that is those things that we have as banks, as micro lenders, and other financial institutions that we then use to then guard against such people, so that we are able to detect and defer such cases. So unfortunately, on such a public platform, I'd be giving away our edge. Yes, because you have to be careful about the way you put things, because your regular Motswana Kante, this guy is actually paying attention, or these guys have been doing this, let's try a different way. Yes.
So what additional safeguards should the micro lenders put in place to guard against this happening again to them?
Yes, in terms of micro lenders, I'd say, yes, we are in competition as micro lenders, but you have a compliance office. Some are big enough to have a fraud office. Collaborate with other micro lenders. When you have collaboration amongst yourselves in the same industry, you get to preempt a lot of things. I don't have to wait for something to happen to me for me to be aware of it. Because now, if this person got this micro lender, he'll try the next one and the next one. And if we are not,
they actually hammered a series of them.
Yes, and if we are not in communication, in terms of, if we are in communication, I'd be like, X and X, so and so came by. He came with something that was not really authentic. Be on the lookout that side. We've already saved half of the micro lenders in the market if we do that. But if now we are all working in silos, he will get a loan from all of us, and we'll all be hit by the same guy, the same type of modus operandi. That is the unfortunate part.
Wow. Now, you talked of social engineering when it comes to certain type of fraud. Can you break that down a little bit?
Yes, I'll break down social engineering into two parts. So the first part will be your simple so and so credit. They will make it in such a way that, okay, fine, if you want to be credited now, press star 1F what not realizing by the end of that short code you've actually entered a code to transfer money into their either Orange Money or my Zaka account, or whatever account that you're using, your mobile wallet account. The second one I'll talk about would be, okay, same type of call, similar type of call, and then now they will. I believe you're a tech savvy person, Mr. Mogobe. You have a bank account. You know what an OTP is. So you receive a call like that. Someone who says, "Okay, fine. We are going to credit money into your account. I'm going to hand you over to a person who uses your bank. Let's say you use Bank Kagiso. So here's a person from Bank Kagiso to assist you. First red flag. Why is a person from Bank Kagiso in the same office le motho wa this let me say competition? Why are we in the same office, and why is it direct there? Any confirmation checks, it's identification and verification. So once that person does that, they will then ask you, okay, what is now your account number or verify as they do that, they get your account details. Then they either get your account number, or they say you'll see a message on your phone. It will be OTP. That OTP allows the money to credit into your account. Because you are on a call, you're not going to literally pay attention for OTP. It can be an OTP for a transfer, or an OTP to register another device to your banking account. So by the time you are done with that call, they already have access to your account. That is what we call an account takeover. So social engineering is the start of how they get access to your financials. So it can be an account takeover, or they do a direct transfer from your mobile wallet. So when they have your account, they can transfer to whoever, whenever, until you stop it.
Now, another scenario to paint, which has happened to quite a number of Botswana as recently as a year ago, is where you are crossing over to do your shopping or to do your business in South Africa. All of a sudden, the police stop you in the middle there, and it turns out these are just fraudulent officers. They drive you into the bush, ask you to take your clothes off, and then they systematically take your credit cards and your debit cards, and one is pointing a gun to your head to reveal your password, your PIN, and then the other is going off to the bank, and depending on the daily limits, they keep you there, and you keep. How is one to respond? A, to guard against that happening, and B, to respond to such a scenario where you are ambushed and have that frightening scenario.
Yes. So essentially, these usually happen in secluded areas. Like you mentioned, they just take you to a bush. As a traveler, should you be wary of maybe a roadblock, you see this is too makeshift, or there's only 2 officers in the middle of nowhere, there's no traffic here, it's safe to just at a safe speed, they'll follow you. You go to your nearest police station, and then at that police station, that is where you will explain, I only came here because I was not safe to be stopped in the middle of nowhere where there's no traffic, and it's just these 2 gentlemen to attend to me, or a gentleman, or these police officers, whether it's a gentleman or a lady. So now, if you end up unfortunately falling into such a trap,
I agree, they will probably put barricades and barriers or things that will break your tires and things.
Yes.
They resort to drastic measures sometimes.
In that case, it's always good to comply, because no amount of money or no amount of valuables is worth a person's life. There's a thing called travel insurance. Travel insurance it guards you against such instances where you lose your belongings, your valuables, due to dubious circumstances such as that, or you are injured in when you are across the border. So it's always good to not just travel alone as well. You have to have other people surrounding you, so that you have strength in numbers. But always comply if you find yourself in such a situation, so that you may live to see another day. Valuables can always be replaced, but you can't replace human life.
Yeah. And in terms of limiting the damage, is there anything you can do?
Yes, in terms of limiting the damage on your mobile phone, try to hide as many. If you have multiple bank accounts or banking apps, try to hide them. Don't let them all show on the same screen. Because as a thief, when I come into your house or I catch you, I don't know which bank you use firstly. I don't know which bank you use firstly, and then also I don't know how much you have in your account. So let's say I have 3 banks on my app, I'm going to sit with you until we check all 3 of these banks. Daily limits are important for such a reason that if you have for accounts that you don't transact much on, have a set limit. Have a set limit, and then also have an account where you keep your money that is separately a savings account where you just, because it's very unsafe to just have loads of amounts just sitting in your current account, because they will make sure that they get access to that money because they just made a score. Yes.
And how do they do it if there are daily limits?
If there are daily limits, well, firstly they are going to try to increase the limit. If
they get you to call your bank,
there can be distress signals. Your bank can call back for them to verify if it is actually you. Like I said,
they'll get you to answer. They have a gun.
No, there are what we call patterns in terms of your transaction behavior. I see you, your daily limit get 10,000. You cash 10,000 ka 11 we see ka one pakela or cash 10,000 that sets an alert for no, this is not regular behavior. Let's speak to Mr. Mogobe. Is everything okay? We can because if you are on loudspeaker, it's always audible if someone is on loudspeaker. So we try to get our contact center agents to pick up on these little things, even when they are talking to a person. Are they under distress? Things like that, so that you are always alert if there's anything wrong with the customer.
There's a voice sounding different.
Yes. You know, if you have a gun to your face, my voice will be shaking.
Yeah, even when you try to be calm. Yeah. Now, let's go back to in the banking setup. We do have other forms of fraud that you grapple with. What are those that the ordinary member of the public is not aware of?
Yes. I'll go back to the traveling that you had just brought up. So when traveling, firstly we encourage our customers to use their bank cards. So now when you are using your bank card, you need to be careful how you use it. When possible, tap it or swipe it. When I say tap it or swipe it, it means that you are just using the interface of the payment system. You're not inserting your card. Because there might be devices that are attached to that device, whether it's a POS machine or a ATM machine. It's better to tap. And then also, even when you are paying, whether you are in a restaurant or wherever, it's always keep an eye on your card. Pay attention to where your card is at all times.
Don't let them take it.
Because if you take your eyes off your card for a second, I can literally take a picture of both the front and back of your card as I go away with it, and then that means your card is compromised. So now, in instances that your card has been actually compromised, it's very good for a customer to have what we call SMS notifications, email notifications. Maybe you are roaming, you don't have SMS capability. Your email
to block the card.
To see the transactions, because as soon as they get access to your card, they'll try a transaction like, okay, no, it's active. We've cloned this card successfully. As soon as you see that transaction, and then you see this is not my transaction.
Yeah.
Firstly, you have the option of calling the call center, but like we said, technology is very advanced. In your banking app these days, you now have the ability to temporarily block your card while you're figuring out what is going on, or permanently block your card if you're definitely sure that maybe it's gone, or you're definitely sure that no, this person is trying to steal money from me. So you have it within your power to stop it there and then, as and where you are, or call the call center for further clarification if you have any further questions. Another form of such fraud that affects our customers' cards would be online transactions. So when you get online, these are sort of tidbits that you need to always have in your back pocket.
By the way, I nearly lost 1 million. Let me just interrupt.
Yeah. Oh,
don't
tell
forget
me
where you
about
are.
it.
I nearly lost 1 million. I was buying. This is when we were fitting in the restaurant in
Yes.
terms of it was a franchise, so 1 million was part of the payment. It was a lot more than that, but at that point I had to pay 1 million.
Yes.
So what we used to do then is write a letter to the bank to verify the payment, and then we would also have a invoice from the person we are paying that
Yes.
side. That invoice would be on a letterhead with the details.
Yes.
So this one time I get the same invoice, but it's asking me, it's saying to me that we have a problem with this account, but we want you to temporarily use it. Everything else is authentic.
Yes.
Letterhead is authentic, and it was only when they were now sending short messages to say how far,
Yes.
that I then called the guy, the genuine guy,
Yes.
the MD of that company, to say, I'm in the process of paying you. Why you send so many messages?
Yes.
And then he said, wait a minute, I never sent any messages.
Yes.
And then only then did I realize that this was an attempted fraud.
You actually had the right response to that. It's what we call email interception. Email interception. You'd have an individual or a syndicate that looks at corporate clients who usually make payments. It's either they set up a fake website and then they sell the products that you're trying to buy, or they intercept an invoice or a payment instruction and alter it so that it reflects their bank account details. So whatever alteration that you may receive in such instances, always verify via
the original source.
With the original source via a call, because there's two possibilities. It can be altered by a person in the organization so that you pay into that person's account, or it could be a separate syndicate that just focuses on that. So you had the right response by verifying, because it's we live in a dangerous time where it's not good to just take things at face value. We have to always verify and always be sure.
There's a Russian proverb which I like. It says, trust but verify.
Trust but verify. Yes,
I believe Ronald Reagan used to like it during the time then when he quote unquote won the Cold War.
Yes.
Against Gorbachev. He was look at trust but verify. It's a Russian proverb.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one. But we have one that we really don't like. We really don't like in the fraud space. It's once bitten, twice shy. So we try to get you as a customer to never be bitten
in the first place.
That's our job. That we look for prevention rather than a cure.
Okay.
Yes.
So then you wouldn't agree with George W. Bush when he says, fool me once, it's my fault. Fool me twice. No, fool me once, it's your fault. Fool me twice, it's my fault.
Yes.
So you wouldn't agree with that?
Or for that
once should not exist.
That one should not exist for the customer. It should exist for me. Because unfortunately, these guys, they plan, they strategize. They always look for the next cutting edge way to defraud people. So my job is to make sure that if they fool me once, they should never get the chance to fool me twice. Because one scenario should be enough to protect the next 100,000 customers.
Which then raises another issue. Is there an institution, a school, or where do these guys meet? I'm sure you've done your research to say, how does this work? These syndicates, is there someone who comes to a seminar or a workshop to train all these guys? They seem to be quite a big network.
Well, it's just like any
but they're not stupid. A lot of them are smart guys.
It's just like any other crime. There's always a mastermind behind it. It's just like any other crime. There's always a mastermind behind it. I'll leave it to my serious crime friends. They're the ones who delve deeply into that, because they try to get to the head of the snake, because
Yeah.
that's where the main issue is.
And how successful are we now in breaking the back of these monsters? If you think of them as the head of a snake, actually you have to crush the head. How successful are we as a country
Well,
in crushing those big heads? I'm talking about the godfathers.
yes. Well, as a country, I'd say that we're making strides in the right direction. I'll just highlight a few things. When I say we're making strides in the right direction, you get to see us as fraud experts in the financial institution space, meeting regularly, having regular conversations to see how we can better protect our customers in collaborative efforts, instead of now everyone wearing the badge of their employer and saying that no, we are just going to look out for our customers. Every Motswana is our customer. Secondly, we get support from our statutory bank, your BOB, when we have issues that affect us at a national level. We also get support from the government. You've seen the recent KYC drive that requested that all people re-register their mobile numbers. What that actually tries to do is that we need to identify every Motswana
All over again.
Yeah, all over again, so that we are sure what these numbers that receive these fraudulent payments, we are able to identify if they continue to do so. If they are not verified, we cut them off.
So has that reduced the losses to the country?
Well, we're still gauging, because Ghana, this is the thing is that as soon as you frustrate the efforts of a criminal, the criminal wants the money in his pocket. If you frustrate where I had them getting that money, then you frustrate. They don't bother. They don't bother to take the money, because now I steal the money, but how am I going to get that money even if I steal it?
So talking about the phones, the need to register it, how exactly did they do it before this new initiative?
Well, it's a thing of us trying to reverse engineer. Like I said, some things I can't get into detail, because you are now giving the next criminal enterprise an idea of how exactly to do it. Yes.
So we don't know how you are not willing to share how they did it, but you're willing to say how we can avoid falling victim to it. Maybe you can speak to that.
So in terms of protecting yourself as a regular Motswana, let's start with social engineering. When you talk of social engineering, one, all competitions are registered go Gambling Authority, and then there's promotions that run around across the social media networks and everything. Soon as I get a call and I hear about a competition that I've not heard on radio or nothing, first red flag. Secondly, the urgency of that person, no, let's finish this transaction now. Let's close this transaction now. That's a second red flag. I get. So
it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yes. So when I only Motswana, as soon as you receive such a call, okay, fine. Mr. Mogobe, 1,000 pula. It's fine. You can drop that call. You've won the 1,000 pula. Get on the telephone directory. Cannot Mogobe Plaza. Come and say, Mr. Mogobe, I'm here to claim my 1,000 pula. If it's a genuine,
come in person.
If it's a genuine thing, I will then give you your 1,000 pula. But because some of these things, it will be a network of chain stores or the branch you just go, okay, fine, I received the call from this person. Then it's easy to verify, because if it's authentic, they should all know that you won.
To what extent is all of this a consequence of lack of financial literacy? And what are you doing as an individual, as an institution, to address those gaps?
Yes, it's all a consequence of what we call lack of awareness. Lack of awareness, it's just a bit of financial literacy, because awareness is based off what people experience out there and how you can guard yourself from being the next victim. So what we do as institutions, we try to collaborate to raise awareness through your radio, through social media posts,
through partnership with Masheleng.
through partnerships.
In your case,
yes, through partnerships with Masheleng. As you can see, I'm also here raising awareness. Thank you for the platform, by the way.
Yeah, most welcome.
Yes.
And I know you are going further in terms of schools to raise awareness. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Well, in terms of on a personal level, I'm very passionate about empowering the youth, not only with the knowledge that I have, but when I was growing up, or as I continue to grow up, I always find myself in that thought, if I knew this then, I would be so far ahead. So now we try to engage on financial literacy talks with the next generation, so that we give them those nuggets of wisdom, so that they can be better prepared for their adult life, so that they know what we wish we knew when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Because information is freely accessible. All you need to know is where to access it.
Yeah.
So we try to give them that guiding hand.
Okay, in America we've heard of Mr. Ponzi.
Yes.
He gave his name to the scheme, Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
And we've also had other things, and the latest of which was Benny Murdoch.
Yes.
In Africa and Botswana, do we have a similar situation, things that are comparable to Enron, the fraud that happened there, WorldCom? Do we have something comparable here? Apart from what you mentioned,
yes, there's quite a significant number of instances in South Africa. I'm just trying to get to the name. I'll get back to it. But yes, we do have instances, especially in South Africa, where people are defrauded in the hundreds of millions of their pensions. There are such instances. In Botswana, it's not to that magnitude. It's just your pensioners who are mostly affected. Person would get that pension. No, I'm pay 1/3 home.
Or go invest with Mr. Mogobe, and it turns out that it's a fake Mr. Mogobe.
Yes.
Too many people. 3 years ago, 3 years ago, this used to happen. Too much. People came here crying, literally.
And then they say you owe them.
No, they were smart enough to see that it was so obvious.
Yes.
They had faked the IDs and whatnot.
Yes.
So it never went that far. They were just crying to realize that they've been stupid.
Been duped. Yes. Because like I said, due diligence is always your remedy. Never invest in something that you don't clearly understand, and never allow anyone to invest on your behalf unless they have regulatory clearance from any FIRA.
Yeah. To what extent is the area of crypto and the area of what is it? Forex. To what extent are these two areas problematic, and what are you finding as banks in these areas?
Okay, so in terms of Forex and crypto, these are platforms that are brought to us to empower the youth to then diversify the ways they can make their income. So unfortunately, this is where the criminals take advantage. So once you have an individual, no, don't do this directly, let me do it on your behalf. That is where the problem starts. That's the beginning
of the problem.
That's where the problem starts. As soon as someone else tries to take your money and do it on your behalf without any regulatory clearance, that is where the problem starts. So as you can see, whether it's a pensioner or a person who's trying to delve into crypto and forex, you'd get these people that say, no, give me 10,000 pula, I'll turn it into 50,000 pula over the next week. I'll turn it into 50,000 pula over the next week. It actually ends up as a sad story. They got 10,000 pula from 100 people. So if I have money, why do I need yours?
So in other words, crypto and forex can work. The only thing where you are exposed to danger is when you let people trade for you.
Definitely, as soon as you introduce
because there's a controversy as to whether these are real investments in the first place.
There are real investments that even investment banks are part of. At a larger scale, at a grander scale, these are markets that investment banks participate in. So now what is happening is that they're being brought to a retail level. A retail level is to your individual Motswana, so that they can invest with small tabs that they get on a monthly basis, your savings and whatever. So now when you introduce the third party, now it now becoming skeptical, because that's where you open yourself up to being duped. Yes.
Is that the only way you can get duped? Only when there's a third party?
Well,
what about where you deposit the money?
Where you deposit the money. Okay, in terms of where you deposit the money, so I actually, when you mentioned your 1 million pool, I was actually going to get into online transactions.
Yes.
So a lot of these platforms, they have an online presence. So firstly, when you get on an online platform, you have to make sure that on the message bar, it's written HTTPS and there's a padlock shown there. That shows that it's a secure site.
Yeah.
That's the first.
Can the padlock be faked?
No, the padlock cannot be faked. It's a security sign. It's part of the address.
Okay.
Yes. Secondly, back to due diligence. To do your due diligence, if I say, okay, Setlhare.com is providing financial platforms for me to trade on, I can then go on Google and say Setlhare.com reviews. It will give me any and everything that people are saying about Setlhare.com that is on the internet, on message boards. Setlhare.com, hey, took my $100 and did this. Setlhare.com, hey, never paid me back after I won. That is where you get to see Setlhare.com, I shouldn't try it. You can also Google which financial institution, which are the best to trade with, or the best to invest crypto in. You get to see those reviews. That is how you do your due diligence. You don't just go in blindly. Yes.
So this is a very interesting thing that you're saying, because someone has come on the studio and told me point blank that crypto is a scam, and another person has come different times that crypto is a scam, and on different occasions other people have come and said these are legitimate forms of business investment and ways to make money. So how is the public to be protected? Isn't there a system, a filter that we can use right at the outset to know whether this particular person is a real McCoy or is fake?
Yes. So
when they approach you.
So in terms of investing, like we had mentioned, it's all covered under one blanket. That is where when that person comes to you, is like, let's invest in crypto. Firstly, in terms of those people who said it's not real, and those who said that it's real, there are two things. There's one question that we need to ask them: was there a third party involved in between those transactions, or it was just you directly dealing with it? Two, did you really understand what you were doing? Because that's where your due diligence is, and you only invest in what you understand. So now, in terms of how do you then guard yourself out to make sure that this person is the real McCoy? If a person is a legitimate investor under Botswana regulatory laws, they have to be registered with NB-FIRA. Mr. Mogobe, I invest in crypto. Can you invest 100 pula with me? Okay, Kagiso. Show me your NB-FIRA certification. Are you doing this in a personal capacity, or you are regulated, or you have been given certification to do this on my behalf? Because that is, people always get tricked by the exorbitant amounts people always throw at them. When a person throws exorbitant amounts, hey, can you get 10,000 temaloba from 5,000, from 2,000 pula? I forget about what I should be asking. I just focus on that money, and then we end up forgetting to do our due diligence. Yes,
that's very interesting. So it all boils down to DD, which is due diligence.
Due diligence,
something that I preach about endlessly when I'm in the mentorship program. I have a mentorship program on real estate and on entrepreneurship. DD, I sing that song non-stop.
Definitely.
So I'm glad that you are endorsing that.
Yes, sir.
But there's another form of I don't know whether it's fraudulent or it's just illicit trading, I don't know what to call it,
Yes.
where an entity or a consultancy says, okay, we can source funding for you from place XYZ, but for us to source that funding, give us 350,000 deposit as a form of due diligence. Some will say even give us $1 million to show your seriousness for us to bring 10 million US. And there's quite a few entities that are saying this, where a red flag rings in my mind.
Yes.
And then I also consider that when you read in developed economies, it's not unusual for people to bring funding from outside for purpose of FDI, foreign direct investment. Yes. What wisdom can you share with us there?
Okay. What I like to say is that if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. Soon as you hear that red flag ringing in your ear, that is when, soon as first red flag, that is where you jump back to what? Due diligence. When you jump back to due diligence, okay, these investors, have they done this for someone before? Do they have a track record, a presence, an online presence? If if I can get you 10 million in investment, and when you search for me in the internet, nothing comes up. Who am I exactly? How do I get such funds? Does it make sense that I'm a ghost on the internet, but I can get you such funding? Though that's where your due diligence comes in.
And then you say to them, let me contact your suppliers and people who are sending you this money, who are dealing with you, for verification.
Yes.
They'll say, no. We don't disclose our sources because people will end up dealing with them directly. How do you respond to that?
Then those people do not have an agreement with the investors to act on their behalf. Because if you have an agreement with a client that you act on their behalf to get the next best project for them, then surely even if a person wants to do due diligence through them, they should be willing
to share information.
Because if you are contracted, there's no way that we can cut you out as the agent. That since I've met the client, I'm cutting you off as the agent. If we have a standing contract, you can actually sue me for that. Yes.
So it's really a complex area, but there's also a question where they say now, and I've been through all this, where they say, "Oh, you are too risk averse." The problem is that your risk tolerance level is too low. How do you respond to somebody saying that?
It's a personal thing. It's a personal thing. I didn't get as far as I am by being convinced overnight. So if I'm too risk averse, let me reassess the risk. If it's outside my appetite, unfortunately, I'll have to pass on this opportunity. Yes, because people, even if you say you're too risk averse, look at it this way. It took me 10 to 20 years to build this. You want me to put it on the line to lose it overnight? Does that make sense? Because that's another thing with these people who always try to dupe people. You'll be trying to get me to have this money within the month. The faster you get it, the faster you lose it. So it has to be built over a reasonable amount of time. Have a track record. If I've built my money over years, consistently, it's hard for me to lose it overnight. But if I make it overnight, I'll definitely lose it overnight, because I'll take the same risk thinking I'm going to double it, and then it's gone.
There's another tactic. I'm just throwing them at you so that you can help the public.
Yes.
Another tactic is things, this is why Botswana are not getting anywhere, because they are not attracting foreign direct investment, because they are too untrusting, they are too Botswana are too skeptical. That I've had these things said to me each time I turn down an investment.
Yes. It's not being too skeptical. All you're just asking for is show me your receipts. Show me your receipts why I should believe in you. Why are you the right guy? You should be able to back up. If you are the right fit, you are the right fit. It's not being too skeptical.
Yeah. I always ask my guests about setbacks that they've encountered, as well as challenges, significant challenges. that they have encountered in their career and how they overcome them. What would you say?
Well, personally, a setback that I've encountered was just before COVID. COVID, no one anticipated it. I was trying to change employers, then we got into a lockdown. Then the employer I was going to was done for. So I can't go back, I can't go forward. So I had to go through COVID, but
you were in the streets for how long?
I spent the better part of 9 to 10 months. And then I got a gig in retail under Bollocks Group. Then I went back to my banking niche. Yes, I spent about 10 to 11 months under retail, and then I went back to banking, where I've been happy ever since.
So what lessons did you learn from that setback?
Well, from that setback, what I learned was resilience. In terms of resilience, if you are not there to take up the opportunity will pass. So always make sure you show up every day.
Okay.
So that by the time that opportunity comes to you, you are still there to take it up.
All right.
Yes.
As an organization, did you encounter challenges and setbacks?
Well, as an organization, I'd say the experience of commercialization, it was an interesting one, because you are now jumping into a space that
and it took long, for BBS to be given a banking license.
It took years. It took years. So it was an interesting time, but it's worth to note that even leadership changed during that time. So it was an interesting time. You're now getting into a market where some people are already established. So I'm happy that you have guys like me who are cutting edge, who will then put you up at the upper echelon, because you're not only trying to provide what others provide, but you're trying to give the people more. Yes.
So how did you win the battle? How did you overcome that challenge as an institution?
Well, winning the battle is essentially leaning into our identity. Our identity is that we are the first commercial indigenous bank in Botswana. That means we are for Botswana. We tailor make our products to suit Botswana. So we are understanding. SBBS. We have a corporate suite that now allows for loans that are tailored to the structure of your business. If your business is seasonal, it can be structured in a way that it is accommodative of those seasons. Yes.
And of course, one of your big successes in my eyes is your partnership with Masheleng, where they now have a slot on BTV, and they've raised awareness and so on and so forth. And I like that, and I like Masheleng as well in what you're doing. But going beyond that, what would be your other triumphs and your other successes?
Well, our triumphs and successes are essentially centralized around our identity. We are Botswana, and we are for Botswana. A partnership with Masheleng was with Botswana to reach out to other Botswana. So now what we are doing is that we are evolving our product suite to focus on all Botswana. Historically, we have the largest market share of mortgages in Botswana. Or in young people terms, we are the goat of mortgages. Yes.
You are the goat.
We are the goat of mortgages. So now we are expanding that to your personal loans. I used to hear this a lot. Can't the BBS so now we're losing that tag. We're bringing in your youth accounts to now have to now identify with the youth. We bring in technology so that we make convenience a thing. Yes.
You had a package, a product there. Was it shares?
Something paid up shares.
Paid up shares. Is it still there?
Yes.
How does it work?
So the paid up shares, the way it works, what we're trying to do is that you buy a portion of shares in terms of
shares in what?
Listen,
which company? Or
shares it becomes sort of like a placeholder for your money. So that placeholder for your money, you can take a short loan against your own money instead of taking out your money. You take a short loan against your money at a fraction, a small fraction of net time, of a small fraction of interest. You then get to take a loan against your loan, your balance, and then you get to pay it back in small fractions.
Yes.
What that affords you is that instead of going to a micro lender, to your machonisa, while exorbitant interest,
you become your own lender.
Yes, you become your own lender, and now it also packages well with your saving mentality, because because most people have a more accounting. You just want to take it and run away with it. You don't even pay yourself.
So it
back.
forces you to pay back.
You pay back so that you still keep your savings.
But I don't think you're promoting that product aggressively enough. I don't hear much about it in the marketplace.
Really? Okay. Just for this year, watch the space. Follow our social media pages. We're there on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
Because some of us who are preaching and singing about the importance of saving, I mean, I tell my mentees that they should have set aside a minimum of 20% of what they make, very minimum, so that they can put that aside for purposes of savings and investments in future.
Yes.
If that message of the paid up shares can be re-embraced, because I'm also a beneficiary of that system.
Definitely.
Paid up shares. I believe in it.
From here, I'm going to have a word with my marketing team so that we
revamp it.
Yeah, we revamp
because
it.
You can earn interest up to how much?
Well, in the interest terms, I cannot
okay,
confirm nor deny anything right now.
It used to be significant enough.
Yes.
But I don't know these days. The interest rate environment has changed. But anyway, as we wrap up, let's go back full circle to fraud. What is your prognosis? What is your, I think the right word is your forecast in terms of what are the risks and the future look like 5 to 10 years?
Okay. In terms of the future, what the future looks like, I want the future to be more about collaboration. When I say collaboration, it would be collaboration between financial institutions and also the people that we work with in terms of trying to catch these criminals, which would be your Botswana Police Service, the people who prosecute them, the DCEC, because if we all work together to take down these criminals, we create a safe environment for your regular Motswana. Yes, that is where I see us coming together in the next 5 to 10 years.
All right. Personally, as a fraud buster, are you planning to be busting fraud somewhere there in the marketplace as an independent operator?
Yes, definitely as an independent operator, I'd like to have my insights and my expertise broadened, not only for my not only for my bank's customers, but be able to raise awareness, empower other people, and impart the knowledge that I've gained over the years, so that they can also help in their own communities to a certain extent.
This is a part of the show where you get to ask me a question. Do you have a question?
That's the part where I get to ask you a question. So my question is simply this. So I know you have resilience because you've been doing this for quite some time. Your YouTube is very very consistent.
Thank you.
It's very consistent. You never miss a slot. So my question to you is that who's your support, your anchor to continue striving? Because it's easy to say, okay, let me focus my efforts on my other businesses. This YouTube thing is not for me, but you are still keeping with it. You have to have an anchor, that a significant one of note, or a person, either personally, it being a person, or an intrinsic value.
Yeah. Well, the question that you're asking hinges on issues of succession planning. It hinges on issues of empowerment. That's what I believe that I'm about. For instance, we've evolved some of our programs to include the legal series, which is no longer just about me. I have other members of the group who participate in the legal series. So I'm looking to watch who has the same level of enthusiasm, energy, and interest as I do have. And I'm seeing that the team is quite big, and I'd like to see someone, stepping into my shoes in time, but I also think of it more broadly as a source of empowerment in the group, as an anchor point for the group. So that is the plan there. But in terms of a big anchor, obviously it's Almighty. I'm a very strong believer in
Amen.
God, and I would like to think that He's my ultimate backup. And at any given time, I believe that His countenance is hanging over this podcast, and I believe that this podcast has been blessed, and it will go from strength to strength.
Amen.
We're broadening our footprints by collaborating with someone like Witness Mdaga from South Africa.
Yes.
He helps set up interviews, him and his people in South Africa. So I go there once a month to do 1 or 2 interviews, and I bring the footage this side, and I load it. So we are broadening our footprint, and I believe that by surrounding myself, every time I'm surrounded by someone and I'm the smartest person in the room, I think I'm in trouble.
Yes.
So I'm surrounding myself with smarter guys. You can see them, they're all over.
Yes.
And my sons also, and my family are part of the podcast. And in fact, the next person I'm interviewing is my son.
Great.
So one of my sons.
Yes.
And the other son is our chief technology officer, who's also part of things happening behind the scenes. So I hope I've answered your question.
No, definitely.
And then I hope we'll grow. You'll help us grow we want to partner more with people like BBS and corporates, and get, captains of industries and CEOs on that hot seat.
Definitely.
So from here, Ubulele I want her there.
Definitely.
And those CEOs who are watching, captains of industries, CEOs, and founders, I want them on the hot seat.
Yes.
I want them here.
No, definitely. Thank you for your answer. Quite elaborative. It actually gives me something to look forward to as in my own personal capacity. Something to strive towards.
Yes. And you told me you're a regular fan. So
I'm a regular fan.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Yeah.
Yes.
Now look at that camera as we wind up our conversation, and leave the viewer with a personal motivational message as we wrap up.
Okay. My personal motivation to the viewer is simple. We only know as much as we have been exposed to. So I encourage you all to expose as much as you can to yourself. Instead of bumping tunes while you're working, you're reading, listen to a podcast, listen to something that will make you better. Remember that yesterday's performance is today's bare minimum. So let's keep at it. Let's keep exposing.
Say that again.
Yesterday's performance is today's bare minimum. Yes.
Wow. Words of wisdom. Tell them where they can reach you. Leave them with all your contacts, sir.
Yes. Yes. You can reach Kagiso Gofamodimo. I'm on LinkedIn as Kagiso Gofamodimo. In terms of my contacts, I have an open line with BBS in terms of 363-1643. If you have any questions following this, if you wish to collaborate on financial literacy issues, proposals, things like that, you can even shoot me a WhatsApp or on 77029342.
All right. Thank you very much. You've been a great guest, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You've done well.